Okay, now on this part I just wanted to show you the edge of a mirror. This is just a clean cut. It's pretty sharp. If I ran my finger across it real hard, it would probably cut me. You just have to be careful when you're seaming the mirror, because if it's got a lot of bumps and chips in it, it really shows up and magnifies on the mirror. The mirror really shows it. But you can see this here is just a clean cut. And then when you seam the back edge, where the primed edge is, that's where they put a coating on to protect the back of the mirror. You don't want to seam it very hard either, because it will actually flake that backing off and you can see it through the other side. So I'll go ahead and seam this and show you what that edge looks like. Now this, we just use our regular belt sander, and I've got a pretty smooth belt on here. This belt is, we use them and wear them down. It's about a 200 grit belt, and we wear it down to it's pretty smooth. You can see and feel that. Actually, you can't feel it, but you can hear it when I run my thumb across it. It's very smooth. So we use that to seam 99% of the mirrors. Now, the only time I use something heavier, which I'll show you, is if you have kind of a crummy edge and you're trying to actually remove some glass to get it down to a nice edge. You'll want to use something heavier to take the glass off. But I'll show you the edge after I seam it. But you can see here, I made a nice smooth edge there. And I could spend a lot more time on it, making it a little prettier if I wanted to. But on the back side, then I usually just swipe it one time. Just so it's not sharp. You don't want to spend a lot of time on the backing, because it will chip off, and then you'll be able to see the little specks underneath of it. When you look at the mirror, you'll be able to basically see through and see those imperfections. I'm going to go ahead and show a seam with a rough belt on this edge, and you can see the difference in the edge and how crummy it can look if you use too heavy of a belt. As you can see on this belt here, you can actually see and hear the grit on the sandpaper. Hopefully you can see that pretty well, but you can see how it kind of just kind of chewed on the edge. It looks horrible. That's what too heavy a belt will do. So if you're using too heavy a belt, you'll get that look, and you'll know that's the problem. You need to use a lot finer belt. But you can go ahead and then go back. Like if I wanted to remove all of that, let's say I cut the glass and it had some imperfections like that, you can use a heavier belt to kind of get that roughness off. To a point, and then you're going to have to go down to the smoother belt. You see how that cleaned that up quite a bit. Now I could get it down even further if I wanted to spend a little bit more time on it, but that gives you a pretty good idea of the difference just in the belt's grit as far as what they can do. When we do our seaming of the glass, we use a hand belt sander just like this, and really you use a pretty dull piece of sandpaper. It's 200 grit, but we like it when we use them down. It gets real fine. You can see here there's hardly any grit left on it. It's really smooth. You can tell by running my hand across it. So when you seam your glass edge, or your mirror especially, it gives you a real nice smooth edge on the glass. It doesn't have so many burrs and that on it. So that's about it with that. But that's what we use for sanding belts to do it. And also sometimes when you're sanding, if you've got a lot of glass, like an edge that's kind of messed up, and I'll show you one here, you might have to use some water on it and a heavier grit sandpaper. Like this one here, you can see it's kind of shiny. We've used a wax on that to get a nice polished edge. But this one here, you can kind of see it's got quite a bit of grit left on it. We use that, and we're actually trying to remove some glass off an edge that didn't turn out so good when you broke it. It might have a burr or something, or maybe a chip in it you're trying to grind out, but that you use a heavier paper here. But basically the same type of paper goes on the same belt.